Chief Butler, thanks for joining me for Citizen Salem. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I haven't done this in a little while, so I apologize if I'm a little rusty. Everyone gets asked the same 3 questions. We'll start easy and work our way up to hard.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the third one then. Okay.
You like the challenge. If somebody saw you walking down the street, how would they know you?
How would they know me?
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't, unless they knew me already.
You don't think you're a publicly recognizable figure?
I don't know. I've had this situation where, from when I first was appointed as the chief here in Salem, that I've changed my hair color. And, it was strategically done purposely because of, not wanting to color it as often. But, I know that has thrown some people.
Oh,
so,
funny.
Yeah.
So you are the chief of police. How
Yes,
long have you been the chief of police of Salem,
For
Massachusetts?
5 years.
And ridiculous question, but how do you think it's going so far? How do you feel about being the chief of police?
I think it's going well overall. I like some of the things that we've been able to put into place. I like when I can go to a neighborhood meeting and I have people saying that they feel safe. Those are the things that we want to be able to do. That's sort of my benchmark. It's not how many people I put out there, how much money we spend doing it. Tell me how you feel in your neighborhood, and that's my benchmark on how we determine whether we're doing things right or we're not. In addition, we run the Citizens Police Academy, and then we have Citizens Police Academy 2 as well.
What is that?
So we actually go through 10 weeks, and we actually talk about sort of what the police department does. How do we do it? Each different type of unit, whether it's domestic violence or whether it's the dive team or whether it is, using traffic enforcement. What are the tools that we have? What do we do? How do we do it? And then what are we guided by, by law? So those are some of the things that we put in play. But one of the things that I tell the Citizens Police Academy every single time that I walk in there for the first day is that we need their feedback, right? So you can never do things right if you never know what's going wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's important that we have the feedback to know that, we can make, if we have to make corrections or changes or things that make sense for the public, that's the feedback that we want to hear.
Interesting. Salem, I would imagine, I don't know the statistics, but I would imagine is a unique city in that it has both a woman as a chief of police and a woman as the mayor. Is that as uncommon as I think it is?
I think it is, yes, yes. And for a while, we've actually had a women as a superintendent of schools.
That's true.
So we had Margarita Ruiz. We have the interim Kathleen Smith right now. So, yeah.
Is it a particular challenge when you go to conferences, that kind of thing? Is it still kind of a boys' club in the chief of police world and the police world in general?
Yeah, I think in the police world in general it is, and that's all. I mean, I'm not saying that it is 100%, but it's certainly this is not quite the norm, right? Having a female chief is not quite the norm.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things I know when I first got on, it was oh well, you're the first woman chief, and I really tried to downplay that a little bit because I really think it should be the norm, right? It shouldn't be something we don't. When somebody gets promoted to the position and put in the position of chief of police, if it's a male, kudos to them, great stuff, but nobody's like making a big story about it in the sense that, we're focused on their gender, right? So the gender shouldn't be focused on here because if it is the norm, then it isn't, it becomes just standard and it's something that people would expect.
For sure. And it's funny, even asking that question, I do feel a little foolish, but it actually occurred to me when I was driving over here. Oh, wait, we have a woman mayor? And so it's normalized for me.
Yes.
And it dawned on me as I was driving over, oh, that's kind of interesting. I'll ask her about that. How long have you lived in Salem?
I have lived in Salem for the majority of my life. I moved here when I was 6.
Okay. I think you qualify as a local then. I know there's stringent guidelines for being a local.
Yes, so without actually telling you my age, I figured that was the best way to go about this.
That was smooth. Yeah. Very good. Have you lived in Salem the whole time? Have you ever relocated? Did you go away for school, or is this?
Nope, I stayed here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you started in the Salem Police Department and worked your way all the way up?
Yes, I had. Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, 1987 I started here, so.
Do you have family members that were police officers, or were you the first?
No, we don't. I actually don't. The funny thing is I have one first cousin. Very strange. lot of relatives, one first cousin. It's very, very odd. But anyway, he actually went into the DEA. So he's actually just about 6 months younger than I am.
Yeah.
And so simultaneously, I was coming on the Salem Police Department, and he was going into the DEA. So that's really what we had for law enforcement within the family. Nobody in my immediate family. I now have a second cousin who's an officer in Lynn. So it's sort of
Creeping in.
It's creeping in, exactly, which is good. So
what inspired you growing up in Salem then? What inspired you to join the Salem Police Department?
well, it's going to say it's two things. So one was really a thought process from back before I even moved to Salem. So I lived in neighboring city of Lynn, and as a little kid, I knew that I couldn't go up the street to the park. The next street over, because there was people that had drugs and knives and guns, and it was like, as a kid, like that's all you want to do is go to the park, right, and go have fun. And so that sort of struck me at that particular point. And then when I moved here, I would say that it was really about some of the stuff that I saw within some of the bullying in schools, and I wasn't appreciative of that. And for me, I look out for the underdog. That's kind of where I'm at. And so when people are being picked on, when somebody's trying to trip somebody that has cerebral palsy, as a kid, I'm losing it. It's something that just to me is like, you got to treat other people well, And so I think those particular types of things is really what prompted me to say this is what I wanted to do. And by 11, that is what I wanted to do. So
you figured it out early on then.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. What are the particular challenges of being a police officer or the chief of police in Salem specifically? And I think you know where I'm headed with this, but what makes Salem unique in terms of police work?
What makes it unique in terms of police work?
Really what I'm getting at is...
tell me what you're getting at.
October 31st is on a Saturday this year.
That crazy time. Is that what you're talking about?
That's where I'm getting to. October 31st is on a Saturday this year, and it's a full moon.
Yes, it is. And daylight savings is like the following day, following night. So, so at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's
2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's daylight savings. So, we have the trifecta that coming up this year. So, always a challenge, but always interesting. I would say in the last several years, I think we've had really a good number of people that have come in that really have been here because they want to be here and enjoy it. So we've had a reduced number of people that we've ended up having to arrest, bring in, as a protective custody, because as I say, anytime, we bring in multiple people, right? We bring in people from NEMLAC, right? So it's the Northeast law enforcement agency that we work with, and multiple agencies around us. We work with, the ATF. We work with the MBTA, and we work with the Coast Guard and our own harbor master and the Salem Fire Department and our ambulance service. So you think about all the entities that are sort of there in terms of what we're doing, and I think that for the most part, I think most of us are seeing like good things happening. And one of the things that I tell the folks that come in from out of town is that the thing that to me that's like really important is there's two things that we want to do. One, the only time that we're really going to be taking some specific action is somebody hurting themselves or hurting others. And if you use that as the basis and understand that people are here to actually enjoy themselves and have a good time, then you're not really interfering really with things unless they're problematic for the public in general. So
For sure.
But there's a lot of planning that goes along with haunted happenings.
Yeah, that level of coordination that you and your department is having to do is not something that Peabody has to deal with.
It's not standard.
Yeah.
It's not standard. But, the fact is so last year we actually ended up doing it was sort of a big group meeting. And it was overseen, and we were getting feedback from MEMA relative to, how was our planning? Where were our deficiencies? What were some of those things? And this year we're going to be moving into a tabletop exercise. So what this does is even though this may be on a large scale and be totally different than other people, we'll be able to take those same practices and be able to assist people even in smaller scale, open events that they have in their own communities, or if NEMLAC is actually assisting. So I think some of the things that we do are things that can be mimicked, and they bring to the table, by the way,
Sure.
several things that are critical and important. Like last year, even though it was way too windy and we didn't get to use them, but they had a drone group from out of Tewksbury. So Chief Sheehan at the time, had the drones, and it was great because if there was an incident that was going to happen, it was like the drone could be there before the officer's there,
For sure.
and that gives us at least an oversight of what's going on before the officer gets there to be able to communicate that. Good stuff, so just thinking about all the things that we're doing and then can share, and what other people are actually already doing and share, and then collectively together, I think we have a really good program. So
yeah, that's it. It really blew my mind. I've lived here for about 12 years, and when I first moved here, I avoided downtown like the plague on Halloween. And then I started
as a lot of people do.
I started to explore a little bit, and that was one of the first things that I noticed was the police representation from all over Massachusetts, like not even the North Shore, which I thought was really impressive and made me feel good as a citizen, that there is that level of coordination and foresight on the department's part to get that level of involvement.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, our involvement with our federal partners and and obviously with NEMLAC is a huge piece. I mean, we have officers that actually are members of certain teams within NEMLAC, and they will assist other communities. And by the same token, a multitude of their officers assist us here. And it's one of those things where we may not be regionalized as a police department, but we certainly have regional assets.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing to make Salem a better place?
I think what we're doing is one of the things that I think I first said, which was a few years ago we implemented the strategic task force that goes out and deals with problem areas, and we deal with it from multiple levels. So one of the things that we do is we're not only sort of targeting bad actors, but we're also trying to break down any barriers of communication with the community, and that's as critical as going after the bad actors, right? And so we have to sort of hit this. So we actually hit it from like a particular three specific areas, which is fundamentally the community policing aspect of it. Obviously doing surveillance on people that we know are problematic. And 3, actually going after people who have warrants and trying to remove them from situations where they may continuously create problems. And so that's one strategy we're using, but the other one really is about connecting with our community. And so that's why we have the Citizens Police Academy, because if you think logically about any police department, right, we have at max typically about 98 officers, but we have a population of about 44 to 45,000. And so balance, when you're looking at what the coverage is relative to that, having the Citizens Police Academy, having the transparency about what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it, it opens the eyes for the residents, and they actually become sort of our eyes and ears sort of at the same time. Not that they're calling up us, telling us everything that's going on, but they're familiar with what's going on. And if there is something that's problematic, they're people that understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Because we cannot be on every intersection. We cannot be on every street. We have somewhere around 750 streets in the city of Salem. Can we have the 10 people that may be on the road, or the 7 people that may be on the road at one shift on every street? Absolutely not. But we certainly can, fortunately, through vehicle movement, is get to all of them at some particular point. And so I think all the things that we're doing, it's about a collective look at it.
Yeah.
And it is about looking at, what's the makeup of our community, and thinking about that. One of the strategies that we've actually been able to do over these last 5 years, I mean, we started a number of years back, is really developing how many people we have on with diverse backgrounds. Number of Latinos. We've actually, have our two first Asians. One was actually a direct hire, and one was a transfer that actually came from Rockland. These types of things really help our community understand that they actually have a stake in the police department, right? They can feel connected to it, and that's a critical role for me to make sure that that's actually happening, because it's not an us and them situation.
Yeah.
We're here because the public needs us to be here to make sure things don't run haywire, right, and run amok. And so for them to feel like that they're comfortable enough to be able to come here and express anything that's going on, to be able to call us either through an anonymous situation or just picking up the phone and giving us a call. Very, very important that we have that connection.
Yeah. Chief Butler, thanks for your time. Thanks for your service to our city. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you being here for today. So
Yeah, it's fun.
yeah, I'm glad I got to share some of this information. It's certainly helpful for the police department.
All right.
So thank you.
No, I would love to come back to the police station. I don't think a lot of people say that.
Some people don't say it, but we do try to make it a friendly environment.